Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to the Nebula build. This is coming together. I'm in the process of a scratch build, and it started out being a fairly standard, albeit relatively pretty. By relatively, I mean, oh my god. Solid body fan fret, multi-scale kind of a beastie. And somewhere along the way, it's turned into almost an acoustic guitar. I'm not even sure how to define this instrument. Burn it. Today, the fun begins. Haha, yay! We have the front and the back, or the front and the back, processed down and looking gorgeous. We have a neck made, carved, rough carved. Needs some sanding. And pretty much there. I think I've got some inlay to do and a little bit of engraving, but that's, no, never mind. We need sides. And in order to do that, we need a mold, really. So today I'm going to be making a mold so that I can bend the sides and get all of that done and in place. We are going to start. We're actually going to finalize how the neck is going to be installed and all of that jazz, because it's got this fantastic tongue, I suppose. And, well, there's going to be some machining. There's going to be some thicknessing. There's going to be some fiddling about and probably the odd silly joke. It's Build a Guitar. By the way, this episode was sponsored by Skillshare. I will talk about that a little bit later. This is one of the few times that a guitar builder will use basic quality plywood for anything. Other than, hey, can you build a guitar out of plywood? Probably could. Let me know if I should in the comments below. Anyway, at this stage, I'm going to take a bunch of plywood, bandsawed roughly to size, and we are going to then gluing them together in a rectangle. And once that has cured, later in the day, we're going to take our template and figure out how to make an external mold. I want the ribs to be on the inside of the mold, and so I can use an expansion clamp or something like that to hold it in place. A violin is an internal mold. It would require clamps that I don't have here to work. So that's what we're going to do. Bandsaw, glue up, make sure the edges are square on the sander, and then you will have a mold with which to play. Here we have 4 pieces. It's a little narrower than I would like. I wasn't about to pull the table saw right into the middle of the room to be able to cut such large pieces. There's no point. So essentially, it's a little bit wider than the template. I will glue a couple of pieces on the outside just to give it a little bit of extra strength, and we will be at the correct size. I'm going to glue these up and be done. I'm not too worried about gluing in the center. Obviously we're going to be cutting all of that away, but yeah, let's have a go. Let's just make sure that they don't have any dust on them before we glue up. Here goes a clamp. All right, while this is drying, let me talk to you about Skillshare quickly. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. We turn down sponsorships on an almost daily basis because you don't need to see me advertising some random video game or accounting app. I don't know, it's not important. This, however, gels so much with what I do and what I believe that I couldn't turn it down. We are all about learning. I am all about learning. If I leave nothing else in this world, it is that thousands and thousands of people have learned from what I do. And it's incredibly important to me. Skillshare is amazing. There are thousands of different classes on everything as from photography and videography, guess what I've been watching recently, to accountancy and entrepreneurship, etc. Now, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below will get a free premium membership trial. Whether you want to spend 3 minutes catching up on something that you already know or think you know, like me and lighting for photography, or you want to lose a day and sit there with a tub of ice cream or two and just imbibe knowledge, Skillshare has it for you. I suppose I should mention the class that I've just been taking, Lighting Fundamentals, Making Lighting for Photography Easy. One of many classes I'm taking at the moment in preparation for the Great Guitar Build-Off video that I'm going to be making, teaching exactly that. Please, click the link below, support a company that supports us, and learn something. Doesn't get better than that, does it? All right, let me show you the rough design that I have for the ribs of this guitar. One thing, we're going to have multiple actual pieces for one reason is I'm using the offcuts from the top and the back because I don't want to waste any, and the other is I want external sound ports on the sides. It would be easier if I did it in one shot, but this wood is too amazing to waste. Can you guys hear the my neighbor? I think he's playing with some sort of a power tool. I don't know. Name that power tool in the comments. Anyway, let's look at the plans. This was the sketch that I did to show the client what I was doing. So the guitar isn't necessarily properly to scale. We have, well, first of all, it's got the modern radius carve. So it's curved like so. The back is going to be flat, and you can see that we've got the ribs in 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces per side, plus a central section. Now that's going to go underneath the bridge for one to give us support, and it's going to be contacting the top and the back, essentially working as a sound post. And then we're going to have a very organic sound hole kind of a thing going on. This is sort of like the 2020 guitar. I really wish I could change the name of that build because that was done in January and February before 2020 happened. Let me know what I should call that guitar rather than the 2020 guitar, because it has, for some reason, negative connotations now, doesn't it? Anyway, that's sort of an effect. And it's going to be cool. Now, something that is occurring to me is I do not want that to just be a solid piece going from the top to the back. I want it, so for example, there's your top, there's your back. This is actually quite difficult to do. There's our bridge. So I'm going to want that piece to contact at the bridge, but then swoop away. And then we'll have, you know, vaulting or something like that, and we'll make it attractive. Every single little bit of this instrument, whether it's ever going to be seen again or not, has to be impeccable. I just want to work out roughly where the ribs are going to be. So we've got one going to the neck, we've got another one coming there. This is going to be an interesting curve. We might end up having open because we can do that and it wouldn't look out of place. It's going to be a curve through to in here. I also don't know where exactly I'm going to gain access to the control cavities. It may well just be done through the pickup, which would mean that I can't have that quite so long. We want something underneath the bridge, like that. Yeah, that works. Maybe that should just be one whole rib then. Where are they? Aha! So that's a problem because those are bang on those. Don't like that. I suppose this could go there. Ha! Idiot. Let's try that again. I think that was evidence of a need for maybe a coffee break. I'm thinking about ribs, not center lines. Okay, it should be a bit better. Yes, there we go. Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I think I'm going to need to wear the brown pants, but fun nonetheless. There is nothing wrong with changing one's mind. And there is nothing that beats having the thing that you're going to do physically in front of you, at least for the way my mind works. And I've changed my mind. From a stability point of view, it makes sense to have the ribs or the sides actually follow the entire contour of the guitar. So I'm not going to have the fiddly bits going on the insides in the inner bouts. The thought process started when I was considering where my leg, well, the client's leg is going to go, and you can't have something that isn't stable in that point. The ribs, the top and the back would be, well, subject to issues. These internal sections don't need to be curved. It's purely stability, and straight is good for that. That's where my neck joint is going. Now I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to use a very, very old technique, and the ribs are going to go internally. They're going to be mortised into the neck at either side because, you know, why not? And we are going to have separate ribs up at the top here, but it's going to follow the outline. And I think this is a little bit more in keeping. Maybe less experimental, but it's going to work. The other reason for this was the actual construction method of putting it all together. I could build it, I could freestyle it without a mold. I think they call it in the air when you're building violins. I could do that, and that I almost would have to do that with where some of those ribs were going. An alternative is do it in the mold in a traditional style. And we essentially are building an acoustic guitar at this point, just with a very strange neck joint. So there you go, people. You've been asking for it for a while. Let's have it. Have at. Have at it. I was hoping to use the offcuts from cutting out the top and the back to make these multi-piece ribs or sides. But I don't have to. The thing is, you see, I have more of this material. I have 3 leaves of it, in fact, which means that I have a book-matched leaf, which I'm going to use one day to build myself a version of Nebula, because I really love it so much. But I can split this piece in half and keep half for myself and use the other half to make the ribs in a much more economical fashion, shall we say. Economical with my time, not necessarily materials costs, but time is important when you spend most of it talking to a random camera. Hey, random camera. Onwards. Onwards, onwards, onwards. I'm going to figure out what I want and figure out what I can do with not having, and we're going to thickness this. This is going to be mine one day. I've been hoarding this wood now for years and years and years. Uh-huh. Oh, that would be cool. I vote that we use this as sound hole, and maybe that as sound hole too. in fact, we have these natural sort of looking shapes which have turned into sound holes, and we have these. We can use these edges here, potentially, as the edges that make up these sound holes. Hopefully. Screw it. Who needs to be economical with their time? I'm going to make up the top half of the ribs in 3 pieces from the offcuts, because that would make the sound holes 100% natural and just sexy as all hell. It's going to take a little bit more planing, but I enjoy planing, so who really gives a damn? Not me. Perfect. I'm going to save that sound hole for my guitar, I think. That edge piece will do nicely. How straight is that? Straight edge. It is a pity that I can't fit a thickness sander in here. It would make life so much easier. What do you think? Should I? Side quest, everybody! Let's turn this into a makeshift thicknesser. That will certainly make my life a little bit easier in the long run. Now, unlike my normal proclivities, I'm not going to go off half-cocked. It is nearing the end of the day. I don't have time to finish it, and I don't want to have an unfinished project looming over my weekend any more than usual. Says the man who's just decided to build 2 guitars at a time every week. But yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of research, see what other people have come up with this, and we're going to turn this into a thicknesser, and then by the end of this episode we will have finished a mold, which is still curing on the floor, and thicknessed the ribs, and we'll be ready for some serious building next week. It's been a weekend, and as such I've done absolutely zero research into thicknessing jigs. However, that isn't going to be a problem. We are still going to make it. Quick side quest. Ahoy. Basically, 2 small pieces of scrap sapele joined together with a hinge. Simple so far. I don't have any threaded inserts, but I do have some bed bolts left over from the Cyberpunk 2077 guitar build, and this will do absolutely fine. So in the section nearest to the spindle sander, I'm going to have the nut section. This will twist, as the eagle-eyed among you will have already spotted the flaw in my plan. I'm going to file a notch into that bolt and then glue it in place and put a pin nail or something in there in the notch to stop that from spinning. And the whole contraption will fold in and out, thus allowing me to very precisely thickness small pieces of wood on an existing machine. There was a spring here somewhere. I need a spring. Aha! Okay, so obviously the bolt is going to close it, but I need a spring to give pressure to push it out. So I have about 1 centimeter of adjustment here, and if I need more I can always use a different spring. Fine tuning. Now I want to use the belt sander attachment because essentially there's more sandpaper and it's going to be less likely to burn, etc. It's just better. But I don't want this to be parallel. Yes, perpendicular is the word that I can never remember. I'm making a concerted effort. I don't want that to be parallel to the belt. I want it to be shooting off this round edge. Now, something that I've been considering the entire time is the fact that essentially as I push the wood through, it's going to be pushing against the spring, but there is give. Now, there doesn't have to be. I can quite happily put a piece of metal here or another bolt or something like that to stop that being pushed backwards, and it would it would then knock my little bin nail out. Okay, I need to sort that out and get that out from under there. But I'm actually not worried about that. I think that that is essentially going to mean that if I take too thick of a pass on the material, the spring will go back, and I think that's going to be a better thing. Yeah, that'll do. At least for now. I think we have something functional. Seems to do what I need. Suppose I should try that, yeah? I'm not entirely sure how square that is. It helps to turn off your isotunes, Crimson 10. It helps to hook up the extraction when you're using a sanding machine. I will probably, during full production mode, I will be wearing a mask, of course. But this is working. We've taken a piece of scrap walnut and it's thinner than it was, and square and straight. This is quite fun. Okay, that was both not fun at all and frickin' awesome. I have taken the material down from about 4mm to exactly 2 millimeters, and it is, that is a job that with normal side material and a good sharp plane I could have done probably in an hour and been okay using the masking tape. No, wait, hold on. I'm not allowed to call it the masking tape and super glue trick anymore. It is just the trick. There was a thread in the comments last week that I liked. Okay, the problem is this material, this wood, is utterly gorgeous, and it's burly and pippy, and grain is going every which way, and I would have had to sharpen my plane multiple times, and I would still be going. And at heart, I'm a very, very lazy individual, at least where it comes to physical labor like that. If it's unnecessary, let us find an easy way to do it. That jig, I can already see many uses for it, and well, yeah, there are some improvements to be made, but I am going to call it. I'm going to call it here. Okay, we still have the mold that is now glued up. We will make that next week. We will also make some curving for the sides. We are going to, I suspect, be bending sides next week. Click like, subscribe, please. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What did you think of last week's brand new kit build? I'm really enjoying doing 2 builds at the same time. And yeah, please consider supporting our sponsor for this week. Thanks to Skillshare. Have a good one. Goodbye.